Basque nationalism is a form of nationalism that asserts that Basques are a nation and promotes the political unity of the Basques. Since its inception in the late 19th century, Basque nationalism has included separatist movements. Basque nationalism, spanning 3 different regions in 2 states, is irredentist in nature, as it favors political unification of all the Basque-speaking provinces. Fueros and Carlism. Basque nationalism is rooted in Carlism and are lost by the laws of 1839 and 1876, of the ancient regime relationship between the Spanish Basque provinces and the Crown of Spain. During this time, the reactionary Fuerista movement pleaded for the maintenance of the Fueros system and territorial autonomy against the centralizing pressures from liberal or conservative governments in Madrid. The Spanish government suppressed the Fueros after the Third Carlist War. The Fueros were the native decision-making and justice system issued from consuetudinary law prevailing in the Basque territories and Pyrenees. They are first recorded in the Kingdom of Navarre, confirming its charter system also across the western Basque territories during the High Middle Ages. In the wake of Castile's conquest of Guipuzcoa, and Durango, the Fueros were partially ratified by the kings of Castile and acted as part of the Basque legal system dealing with matters regarding the political ties of the Basque districts with the crown. The Fueros guaranteed the Basques a separate position in Spain with their own tax and political status, while its corpus's extensive prerogatives contained in them set out for one that Basques were not subject to direct levy to the Castilian army, although many volunteered. Sabino or Aranya, the native Basque institutions and laws were abolished in 1876 after the Third Carlist War and replaced by the Basque economic agreements. The leveling process with other Spanish regions disquieted the Basques. According to Sabino Arana's views, the Biscayan personality was being diluted in the idea of an exclusive Spanish nation fostered by centralist authorities in Madrid. Aranya was inspired by his brother Luis, a co-designer of the Basque flag Ikurina, and a major nationalist figure after Sabino's death. Aranya felt that not only the Basque personality was endangered but also its former religious institutions, like Church of the Society of Jesus, which still often spoke in Basque to its parishioners, unlike school or administration. Sabino characterized Catholicism as a sort of shelter for Basque personality. This became a point of contention with other personalities holding like views and clustering around Arana's Manifesto Bizkaia por su Independencia. Later industrialist and prominent Basque nationalist Ramon de la Escotia dismissed Sabino's positions of Catholicism as inherent to the national issue. In 1893, the Gamazada popular uprising erupted in Navarre against the breach by the Spanish government of several foundations of the treaties ending the Carlist Wars. Aranya eagerly supported the Navarrese outbreak by traveling to the territory and participating. The widespread protest in Navarre sparked solidarity in Biscay. In 1894, after a support meeting held in Guernica attended by pro-Fueros personalities, a group led by Aranya overtly blamed Spain for the current state of matters, going on to set a Spanish flag ablaze. This rebellion, called the San Rocada, is held as the beginning of political Basque nationalism. In 1895, the Basque Nationalist Party was founded around Aranya. His nationalism shifted from a focus on Biscay to the rest of Basque territories. The program of Aranya was specified as follows: the Basques represent a nation with their own history and culture. This nation consists of race, language and an own political system. The liberty of Euskadi has been destroyed by France and, mainly, by Spain, who subjugated by force the different Basque territories, including the former Kingdom of Navarre's territories with the exception of Rioja, as well as Lapidi and Zubero. As a consequence of the lack of independence of the country has a political despondency, which has its last expression in the suppression of the Basque traditional laws and its own institutional system, the economic submission towards France and Spain, and a disappearance of the signs of identity. The solution to all these problems is to restore independence by breaking the political ties with France and Spain, and the construction of a Basque state with its own sovereignty. By the end of the 19th century, Aranyu differed clearly from the Carlists. His initial background, he accompanied his views with his xenophobic ideology centered on the purity of the Basque race and its alleged moral supremacy over other Spaniards, and deep opposition to the mass immigration of other Spaniards to the Basque country. The immigration had started after the boom of manufacturing related to the ore exportation to England and privatization of communal lands and exploitations as the fueros were lost. Aranyu died in 1903 months after releasing a controversial manifesto renouncing his former tenets while in prison for supporting Cuban independence, and just months after the Basque leader congratulated U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt for its support to Cuba. The nature of the document is still subject to discussion. Luis Aranyu took the reins of the Basque Nationalist Party. In the early 20th century, Basque nationalism developed from a nucleus of enthusiasts in Bilbao to incorporate the agrarian Carlists in Biscay and Gipuzkoa. The seeds of seminal Basque nationalism bloomed also in Navarre and Álava early on the heat of the Gamasada. Modern history. The movement survived without major problems the dictatorship of Miguel Primo de Rivera under the guise of cultural and athletic associations. The Basque Nationalist Party split in the early 20s and Comunión Nacionalista Vasca was created. Basque nationalists allied with Carlism in support of the Catholic Church as a barrier against leftist anti-clericalism in most of the Basque provinces. Although alliance started to change with the coming of the Second Spanish Republic, by the start of the Second Spanish Republic, a small cluster of secularist Basque nationalists had sown the seeds of the EANV, while PNV clung to its traditionalist Catholicism. However, failure by a Carlist faction to back up the Basque Statute in 1932 and the radicalization of their anti-republican discourse opened the Basque nationalists to new alliances with Republican and leftist parties, gradually shifting to a Christian Democrat position willing to some sort of compromise with the left. In 1936, the main part of the Christian Democrat PNV sided with the Second Spanish Republic in the Spanish Civil War. The promise of autonomy was valued over the ideological differences, especially on the religious matter, and PNV decided to support the legal Republican government. After stopping the far-right military rebels in Incorta, autonomy was achieved in October 1936. A Republican autonomous Basque government was established, with José Antonio Aguirre as lehendakari and ministers from the PNV and other Republican parties. However, in 1937, roughly halfway through the war, Basque troops, then under control of the autonomous Basque government, surrendered in an action brokered by the Basque Church and the Vatican in Santona to the Italian allies of General Franco on condition that the Basque heavy industry and economy was left untouched. For many leftists in Spain, the surrender of Basque troops in Santona is known as the Treason of Santona. Many of the nationalist Basque soldiers were pardoned if they joined the Francoist army in the rest of the northern front. Basque nationalists submitted, went underground, or were sent to prison, and the movement's political leaders fled. Small groups escaped to the Americas, France and the Benelux, of which only a minority returned after the restoration of democracy in Spain in the late 70s or before. During World War II, the exiled PNV government attempted to join the Allies and settled itself in New York to gain American recognition and support. But soon after the war finished, Franco became an American ally in the context of the Cold War, depriving the PNV any chance for power in the Basque country. Political violence and devolved autonomy. In 1959, young nationalists founded the separatist group ETA. Its activism, paintings, pitching Basque flags, pamphlets, escalated into violence after shocking revelations emerged of torture practiced by Spanish police on Basque activists during repression. In the mid-1960s, by that time, ETA was adopting a Marxist revolutionary theory, inspired by movements like those of Castro in Cuba and Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. The group aimed to establish an independent socialist Basque country through violence. ETA's first confirmed assassinations occurred in 1968, thereafter including violence, even killing, as a practice. Theory of action, repression action. At an ideological level, instead of race, the organization stressed the importance of language and customs. When Spain re-emerged as a democracy in 1978, autonomy was restored to the Basques, who achieved a degree of self-government without precedent in modern Basque history. Thus, based on the fueros and the Statute of Autonomy, Basques have their own police corps and manage their own public finances. The Basque autonomous community has been led by the nationalist Christian Democratic PNV since it was reinstated in the early 1980s until 2009 when PSE got into office. In Navarre, Basque nationalism has failed to gain control of the autonomous community's government, ruled by UPN, often with the support of PSN. But Basque nationalist parties run many small and medium-sized councils. Although France is a centralized state, Basques-Since, a Basque nationalist party, maintains a presence in some municipalities through local elections. Basque nationalist organizations, political parties and coalitions. A political coalition formed for the Spanish general election 2011. Arela, leftist political party. Basques-Since, leftist political party, illegal in Spain on grounds of links with the armed organization ETA. It was known previously as Herri Basques-Since and Euskal Herritarrok. Batzar, a political party in Navarre. Comunión Nacionalista Vasca, former political party. A Bildu, political coalition formed in 2011. Euskadiko Ezkerra, a former leftist political party. Euskal Ezkerra, a splinter of Euskadiko Ezkerra. Eusko Abertzale Ekintza, leftist political party. Eusko Alkartasuna, social democratic political party. Nafroa, Navarre's political party. Basque Nationalist Party, Christian Democrat political party. Sorta political party. Zutik leftist party. Organizations Askartasuna, support for ETA prisoners. Basque Workers' Solidarity Trade Union, Enbata, ETA, separatist armed organization operating mainly in the Spanish Basque country. Echerit, relatives and friends support group of individuals subjected to state repression. ESAIT, support for the Basque national teams in different sports. Gestores pro amnesia, support for ETA prisoners. Hera 2000 Eliza, Catholic movement. Akal Abertzale, group of Basque nationalist students. Ipariterak, violently clandestine organization operating in the French part of the Basque country. Irancy, armed organization of the French Basque country. Jagi, a former magazine. Lab, leftist trade union. Senadik, relatives of Basque activists in prison. Segi, Batasuna's youth group. Udalbiltza Assembly of City Councillors, Young Patriots, the youth group of the Spanish Basque political party Eusko Alkartasuna, left of the PNV but not aligned with ETA Batasuna.